Hi, everybody. It's Tim Constantine from the Washington Times, joined by David Bozell for America. Dave, how are you?
Tim, how are you, sir? Are we sure? Are we sure this equipment isn't going to blow up on us? I heard Hezbollah and Hamas might be having some technical
I am
difficulties.
keeping my distance, that's for sure.
Just
It's
guarding.
what crazy times we live in, that's for sure. You know, it's funny, you should mention Hezbollah and the Middle East situation.
Yeah.
I was thinking this week, when I was at the Chicago Democrat Convention, just about 3 blocks from the convention were 15,000 protesters. And they were pro-Palestine protesters, and they were anti-Harris. And some of them were pro-Jill Stein, actually, but they were anti-Democrat, anti-Harris, pro-Palestine. And I remember thinking at the time, if you are anti-Harris, do you really think you're going to get a better Palestinian reaction from Donald Trump? It made no sense to me.
Right.
And so I transitioned that into this week, I'm seeing a number of the pro-lifers on the right side of the equation mad at Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or are these people missing the big picture?
Look, I love the pro-life movement. I really do. I would suggest to the rank and file and the pro-life leadership, the political leadership, particularly those in Washington, D.C., I really think that they need to be on bended knee in gratitude to Donald Trump. Winning the war, winning the abortion war on a national level had become basically a non-starter. It was never going to happen. What Donald Trump did, helping with the Supreme Court appointments, getting rid of Roe v. Wade, he turned a national war that they could not win into a 50-state battle of opportunity. 50 different states that they could win, and they've won quite a few. What I just cannot tolerate, Tim, is some of these pro-life leaders that are out there sort of beard stroking through op-eds, suggesting that, well, I live in a state that's not competitive, so I'm going to write in Ron DeSantis as a protest vote. But those of you that live in swing states, you should try to help Trump win and then hold him accountable. How dare you? How dare you give us that kind of errand to do all your fighting for you? This is a time that all pro-life Americans should be unified and unanimous in our quest to save as many babies as possible. And it wasn't too long ago where the political leadership of the pro-life movement was falling over themselves, particularly in the United States Senate, I think like 2019, so 5 years ago, where they were willing to accept and they were pushing aggressively the idea of a 20-week ban, because that's when babies could feel pain. And now we're fast forward during the height of a month before this man could possibly be reelected president again. You're going to give him a hard time because he's not sure if 15 or 6 weeks is the right number. When you were at the 20-week mark, not 5 years ago, I don't think it's fair. I don't think a lot of the pro-life political leadership have been fair to him in recent weeks, and it's time to stop the bickering and get back to work.
Well, the alternative, of course, is Kamala Harris.
Right.
And if you are a pro-life person, Kamala Harris is not going to be your friend. I mean, that's just cut and dried. I'm not picking a side there.
Right.
I'm not trying to tell anybody anything that isn't just fact.
Right.
Kamala Harris is about as far from pro-life as you can possibly be. So I'm not sure where they go. You mentioned Trump and his 3 Supreme Court appointments and the overturning of Roe v. Wade. When we look, a president typically gets, on average, 2 Supreme Court appointments.
Right.
George Herbert Walker Bush got 2, Clinton got 2, W got 2, Barack Obama got 2. It was unusual that Donald Trump got 3. But as we go into 2025 and beyond, how important is the 47th President of the United States in shaping the future of the Supreme Court?
Well, look, death calls for us all, right, at any moment. So it could call for any of the Supreme Court justices. It's a younger group, as it's well established. Then again, Clarence Thomas.
He's 76 years old. Alito is 73 years old.
You'd like to replace those guys with the kind of talent that they represent. And you don't want to leave that in the hands of a Kamala Harris, because that just flips the court, and then you're in real trouble politically. The conservative movement would be ashes if the Supreme Court were to turn against them. Frankly, this Supreme Court has become one of the few bright lights of success for the conservative movement at the national level. So if that were to turn against the movement, it would be devastating. So it's absolutely critical, and it's another reason why people should be supporting Donald Trump.
Let's shift gears for a minute. I always tell you I don't put too much stock in polls for obvious reasons. Even if they're accurate, they measure today. They don't measure it November 5th, or they don't measure the day that someone submits their absentee ballot. It's a guideline. It's maybe some advice that you can take if you're involved in the campaign, but they are not steadfast, and often they're not done scientifically, so they're not that good. But there was a poll by the Gallup polling organization that came out this past week that showed among independent voters, not Democrats, not Republicans, but independents, Harris has dropped 25 points since her high about a month ago.
Right.
When all the hoopla happened and she first came out, people thought, oh, he's not Joe Biden, she's not Donald Trump, we like her. And now what they've seen in those 30 days among independents, and they're who is going to decide this election, she is down 25 points.
Right.
How important is that?
It's critical. I mean, and conversely, Donald Trump is up +5 in his favorables. So that's where the swing is coming from. It's critically important. Why is she down 25 points in a month? Well, she's only done basically two national media appearances. One was the DNC convention speech, which on the floor, and she delivered it well, but she said nothing. And then the next appearance was her interview with Dana Bash, which was awful. Again, having said nothing. And if you're an independent looking to make, who's going to put money in my wallet? Who is going to keep the country safe? Who is going to have American interests as their interests? First and foremost, people are trending toward the president.
Dave, let me ask you to do something.
Sure.
And this throws us off just a little bit, but let me ask you to do something. Look at me, pretend I am a candidate for anything, Tim Constantine. Ask me any question you want.
Favorite color?
Dave, that's a great question. And I grew up in a middle-class family, raised mostly by my father. That's Kamala Harris.
It's exactly
She's got
right.
answers. It doesn't matter if you ask her what her
right.
favorite color is. She has an answer that has nothing to do with it. You could ask her what time it is. She's going to say, I grew up in a middle-class family.
Yes.
It's the stock answer, no matter what the question is. One size fits all. All right, let me ask one more question before we go.
Yeah.
That is, the House race is really, really, really close. Senate race, you look at the mathematics of it, you look at where the seats are, and it theoretically seems to favor the Republicans.
Right.
But I'm not so sure. That seems really, really close to me.
Right.
The presidential race is close. If one candidate or the other catches fire toward the end of October, if Kamala Harris or Donald Trump starts to pull away, will they take the House and the Senate with them?
Good question. The country has a history of voting for split government. It just has fallen that way. We only have unified government, one party in control of all three chambers. It's only, I think it happened 3 times in the last 100 years, and when it does happen, it's because of a death in the Senate. It's very fleeting, and there's no real political reason for it. It was just sort of where the math fell. So the country has a history of voting for divided government. It's in our DNA to not do a lot of things at the federal level. So they want one party in charge of one branch and the other party in charge of the other. So I don't think either candidate are going to have a tremendous amount of coattails in this race. I do like the Republicans' chances in the Senate because the map is better. The House, as you said, Tim, it is a 50-50 proposition. But even still, it doesn't seem to matter. Unless, if the Democrats run the House, they will subpoena the Trump administration all day, every day, and that's going to be a drag. Outside of that, though, the Republicans don't seem to do anything.
Most important football game of the year is going to be the Alabama-Georgia football game. Donald Trump has said he will attend that game. Who's going to win?
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
All day, every day.
For America, he is Dave Bozell from the Washington Times. I'm Tim Constantine. Thanks for joining us.